names of discarnate entities and possessing demons. And he asked him, "What is thy name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Mark 5:9. Anti-entities, anti-word entities, anti-Christ entities, anti-father entities, anti-son entities, anti-mother entities, anti-Holy Spirit entities, anti-life entities, anti-mind of God entities, anti-Buddha entities, anti-victory entities, anti-awareness and action entities, anti do it entities, anti make it happen entities, anti decree entities, anger entities, inferior, riptide, anger entity, chemical entities, fluoride, sucrose, true sweet saccharin, sweet and low, equal, neutral, sweet. Death entities, annihila, columnus, suicide entity, dorme, entity of murderous intent, gargantua, entity, sleep entity, hordes of death, lynch mob entity, hordes of failure, omnighost of the human consciousness, sickba, sickbus, death entities, dope and tobacco entities, cocaine entity, crack, as a death entity, delta 9, cannabis, sativa, marijuana entity, herica, heroin entity, inhaler, smoking entity, morphus, dope entity, nicola, nicholas, tobacco entities, PCP entity, gossip entities, carpia, harpia, Halloween entities, Dracula, Draculus, exhora, entity that enhances horror, Gusa, masquerade entity, mischievous, as a mischief entity, Supusia, suspicion, and spookia, suspicion and spook entities, insanity entities, derangia, insanity, mania, mad spirit entity, depressed, depression entity, manic, depression entity, melancholia, melancholy entity, phobia, fear entity, schizophrenia entity, liquor entity, spirit, spiritus, those are liquor entities, condemnation entities, masochism and self-condemnation entities, satis, sadism and condemnation entity, lust of money entities, Jezebella, money beast, Luciana, gambling entity, Lady Luck, sentimentality entities, sentimentia, sensia, weeping entity, sex and self-infatuation entities, sensua, voluptia, that's a lust entity, masturbation entity, sodoma, homosexuality entity, Gomorrah, homosexuality entity, lesbianism entity, Sappho, lesbianism entity, incubus, succubus, sex entities that project erotic dreams and sensations during sleep, an evil spirit that lies on persons in their sleep, nightmare, one that oppresses or burdens like a nightmare, incubus, one that has sexual intercourse with women while they are sleeping, succubus, a demon assuming female form to have sexual intercourse with men in their sleep, sympathetica, sympathy entity, venicus, vanity entity, voodoo, voodoo and black magic entity, entities of sensuality, selfishness and self-love, narcissism, self-infatuation, and suicide. Music entities, Jazzor, that's a jazz entity, Rococo, rock music entity. The suicide entity decree. Beloved, mighty, victorious presence of God, I'm in me, my very own beloved Holy Christ self. Holy Christ selves of all mankind, beloved Alpha and Omega, beloved Helios and Vesta, beloved Hercules and the seven mighty Elohim, beloved Cyclopeia, great silent watcher, beloved Archangel Michael, all the archangels and legions of light, Japhiel, Shamuel, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel, Zadkiel, Uziel, and Seraphim and Cherubim of God, Justinus, captain of seraphic bands, beloved Mahashohan, El Moria, and the seven mighty Shohans of the rays, all the Lady Masters, beloved Mother Mary, Magda, Pallas Athena, Meta, Nada, Kuan Yin, Lady Master Venus, beloved Lord Sanat Gumara, Guatemala Buddha, Lord Maitreya, Jesus and Cthulhu, Saint Germain and Portia, beloved Goddess of Liberty and the Karmic Board, beloved Amirisis, Goddess of Light, beloved Queen of Light, beloved Goddess of Purity, beloved Mighty Diana, Aries and Thor, Neptune and Luria, Virgo and Pelor, the beloved mighty cosmic being, Victory, beloved Guru Ma and Lanello, the entire spirit of the Great White Brotherhood and the World Mother, elemental life, fire, water, and earth, in the name of the presence of God, which I am, and through the magnetic power of the sacred fire vested in the threefold flame burning within my heart, I decree for the God victory of the youth of the world. Dante Ferguson, Winter Williams, Malik Morris. Charge, charge, charge into the four lower bodies of Earth and her evolutions, the full cosmic light of 1,000 suns, your mighty transcendent flame of perfection from the heart of God, the flame of cosmic blue lightning and the violet transmuting flame. Seize, bind, hold inactive, and remove from within and around every life stream, every elemental, the earth, the children of the light, and all sons and daughters of God. The record of the original spiritual suicide of the fallen angels who rebelled against Almighty God and betrayed His Christ, every perpetrator of said dastardly deed from that hour unto the present, including all who were cast out of heaven and now stalk the earth, purveying their suicide wares and swaying society toward their cults of death and hell for revenge against life and all who are real through such organizations and publications as the Hemlock Society, Compassion and Choices, Jeans Ray, and Final Exit by Derek Humphrey. Suicide Operating Methods by Claude Gillian and Yves Labonne. Jack Kevorkian, Heaven's Gate, and all other mass suicides and all self-destructive and suicidal discarnate entities, resorting therefore influencing humanity to commit both spiritual and physical suicide in the low-down mockery of life. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolt of lightning Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolt of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolt of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Bolts of lightning penetrate through Dr. Jack Kevorkian and all his suicide entities. Take all discordant entities of disembodied souls of light from our planet instantly to ascended master octaves and schools of light. Saturate, saturate, saturate. their forms with the flames of cosmic forgiveness and illumination from the heart of God and the great central sun, and our dearly beloved Kuan Yin and the goddess of wisdom dissolve forever, dissolve forever, dissolve forever, all recalcitrant densities within them, and transmute, transmute, transmute them all into light, illumination, and love. Cut them free, cut them free, cut them free from all self-destructive and suicidal tendencies and momentums, addictions of the mind and body, afflictions of the soul and spirit, until humbly, adoringly they surrender their all to the service of the mighty I Am presence and the light of God, which never, never, never fails to give earth freedom now. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through the astral plane. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through the astral plane. Bolts of 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 lightning penetrate through the astral plane. Bind and shatter the patterns of rage. 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 Beloved Archangel Michael, beloved mighty Hercules and Estrella, beloved El Moria, beloved ascended beings, powers, activities, and legions of light, angels and activities of the sacred fire, lock your cosmic circles and swords of blue flame of thousands of suns from the great central sun in, through, and around, all humanly created evil entities and all rebellion and suicide entities around our children and youth, and shatter, shatter, shatter all negative thought forms, influences, and Akashic records adversely affecting all children of the light, sons and daughters of God, mankind, elemental life, the earth, and her evolutions. Beloved Archangel Michael, beloved mighty Hercules and Estrella, all ascended beings, powers, activities, and legions of the light, angels and activities of the sacred fire, like your cosmic circles and swords of blue flame of thousands of suns from the great central sun in, through, and around, all rebellion and suicide entities, demons, and discarnates amplified through the media, TV, MTV, rock, video, drugs, and sugar, their cause, effect, record, and memory. And by the power of the great teams of conquerors, the seven mighty Elohim, archangels, and Shohans of the rays, Sanat Kumara, Surya, and Cusco, the mighty blue eagle from Sirius, seize, pin, and bind, seize, pin, and bind, seize, pin, and bind. The suicide entity of Anila, all focuses, mask, and masquerades thereof, all malicious, ignorant, sympathetic, and delicious animal magnetism exerting pressure thereto, all mass entities, floating grids and force fields and pockets of suicide records on the astral plane of individual, group, national, international, world communists, and the ICC, collective, communal, cult, teen cluster, or copycat suicide, especially at the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, Wall Street, and the Empire State Building in New York. I call to the entire spirit of the Great White Brotherhood now. Lock your cosmic circles and swords of blue flame of thousands of suns from the great central sun, in, through, and around, and seize, pin, and bind all discarnates of people who have committed suicide and youth who have been drawn into suicide by his example and the examples of all other fallen angels, all thought forms, momentums, patterns, plots spawned in hell, and traps of teen suicide set by the fallen angels, embodied devils, and the false hierarchies of the pit and the astral plane, and their age-old conspiracies luring our children and youth into spiral mental, emotional, and physical self-annihilation through the exhilaration of drugs, especially marijuana and cocaine, rock music, and the excessive or perverted sexual practices, the irresponsibility and passivity produced by alcohol, nicotine, sugar, and chemicals in food and the environment. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. The light of God never fails. The beloved mighty I am presence is that light. The beloved mighty I am presence is that light. The beloved mighty I am presence is that light. The beloved I am presence is that light. The beloved mighty I am presence is that light. The beloved 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 I am present is that light. Lock your cosmic circles and swords of blue flame of thousands of suns from the great center sun in, through, and around, and seize, pin, and bind. Seize, pin, and bind. Seize, pin, and bind. Bind and shatter the patterns of rave. Bind and shatter the patterns of rave. Bind and shatter the patterns of raid. 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 All entities of death and hell, devils and denizens out of the pit, preying upon our children and youth, including all possessing demons and entities of necromancy, necrophilia, sadomasochism, morbidity, discouragement, dejection, rejection, depression, despair, despondency, self-condemnation, worthlessness, sin, and the sinful sense, ingratitude, self-pity, self-preoccupation, selfishness, self-love, self-hatred, guilt, shame, loss of motivation and the will to be, to live, to create, and to care, anxiety and tension, leading to under or overindulgences in food and sleep, such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia, insomnia, and all other entities vampiring the light, blood, and innocence of our children and youth, including incubus and succubus, and all devils of child abuse, child molestation, child prostitution, murder, rape, abortion, euthanasia, accidental deaths, satanic rites, witchcraft, black magic, societal fascinations with phobia of and fixations on death and dying, all personal and planetary momentums, and demons of narcissism, and the anti-God cults of atheism, annihilism, existentialism, self-annihilation, self-deliverance, and their glorification in the media, and all suicide-related psychosomatic disorders, insanity due to biochemical imbalances, psychosis, neurosis, obsession, compulsions, manic depressive reactions, nervous breakdowns, manias, and psychic vulnerabilities such as voices, the I don't care attitude anymore syndrome, the I was born at the wrong time syndrome, delicious death, and the ultimate suicidal rebellion or suicidal revenge committed against parents, life, and society, including terminal illnesses, records of karma and past life inherent in and affecting the potential suicide victim, conscious or unconscious, known or unknown, and shatter, shatter, shatter the entire planetary force of suicide, all negative thought forms, interplanetary, astrological, lunar, hypnotic, and psychotronic influences and Akashic records of suicide, Nephilim, programmed and computerized, adversely affecting our children and youth, mankind, elemental life, the souls, and four lower bodies of Earth and her evolutions. Bolts of blue lightning penetrate through Annihilus, Kevorkian, and all suicide entities.